Welcome to the Intuitive Rising podcast. I'm your host, Amy Brooks. This is a podcast that invites you to remember who you are, return to yourself, and rise into your highest and best soul self. Every week, I will be sharing inspiring conversations about topics that hold keys to your awakening. My mission as an international evidential psychic medium, Reiki practitioner, and intuitive mentor is to help you rise into who you were born to be. Enjoy the show. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Intuitive Rising podcast. I am your host, Amy Brooks, and I'm so happy to be here with you. It is a snowy Sunday here in my neck of the woods, and I wanted to come on because I felt inspired to talk about something with you, and that is to talk to you about the soul and the kind of evolution of a soul. And this was spurred on by a question that I received from Jana. Hello to Jana, who asked if I could speak a little bit more about an old soul and what it means to be an old soul. And so we will talk about that today. And throughout this episode, I will be referring to a resource, and that is this. I'm holding it up if you are watching me. If not, I will tell you what I'm holding up. It's a book. It's called The Instruction, and it is by Ainsley MacLeod, and he is a past life psychic. Now, I really like this book a lot, and I would recommend it for anyone who is interested kind of in the soul's evolution. So just on the back of the book jacket here, this book will give you some insight into your soul age, your soul type, some past life fears, and some talents that come through around your soul age and type. There is descriptions of all of that in here, and you can kind of figure out where you are intuitively, but where you feel you are in terms of your soul's evolution. So first, let's begin today by kind of talking about the soul. And we talk about this not only through my own experiences, my own beliefs that have been shaped because of the experiences I've had, not in my life, but also through the work that I do as a medium, as a psychic, and as a past life reader. I also connect people's higher selves, so that definitely plays a role in this as well. And, that has shaped my beliefs, but also things like this book. The reason I'm using this as a resource is because I highly agree with what he talks about and what he describes, and I also feel that is truth based on what I experience. So we'll talk about the soul first and foremost. I'm often asked, and in fact, I used to also have this question myself back before I started doing this work in a professional way, and that is, what's the difference between a spirit and a soul? How can a medium such as myself connect to a loved one in spirit if they have gone on and reincarnated as someone else in a new life? And so I aim to answer those questions for you as well today. So the soul, how I feel and how it is kind of been taught to me by my own experiences, as I said, is that the soul and the spirit are very, very different things. We will start with the spirit. The spirit is what I as a medium connect to in a mediumship reading. Okay, so it is who we are individually in this lifetime, right? Amy, you. We're different people. We have different experiences, different personalities, we look different, we have different interests. So when I'm connecting to a loved one in spirit for you, maybe like your Grandpa Joe, what I'm connecting to is the energy, the spirit of who Grandpa Joe was as your Grandpa Joe. So in that incarnation of his soul's evolution, he was Joe. Okay? And so the spirit encompasses all that made Joe Joe. What he looked like, his background, his family, his interests, his career, his memories, his talents, his fears, all of the things That's what makes me me and you in this lifetime. That is the spirit. The soul is much more broad. So I liken the soul as the ocean. Picture the ocean as consciousness, as source, as all there is, right? Whether this is creator, when we talk about this, God, we picture an ocean, okay? It is everything is all knowing and interconnected, okay? This is consciousness. This is where the spirit goes after. This is quote unquote heaven, what we may refer to as heaven, what we may refer to as the afterlife, right? We go back, we return to source, we return to the ocean, okay? It's just a visual. It helps me picture this, and it might help you as well. So the ocean, is individual droplets of water, but all in one thing. It's all connected, right? All comes from this one ocean. Whether we've got this lake here or this river on the other side of the world, it originated here in the same place. And so the soul is this ocean, and the soul is just all a part of each other. It can't really be separated. It just is one. And then I like to think about the spirit as those kind of individual droplets of rain that come from and originate from the ocean, but are, experiencing a new reality as a droplet of rain. Droplet of rain is the lifetime, right? Is the experience, the evolution of the soul from that lifetime, right? So that's how I like to explain it. The soul is the thing that continues to evolve. The soul and like that aspect, that piece of you is the thing that would then reincarnate and experience again. But it's interesting when we think about this, right? If we all at our soul comes from this one huge ocean where we're all connected, we're all one, then things like past lives or Akashic records, it's like the question, the mind bender is when I tap into, or you tap into the Akashic records in terms of like a specific lifetime that you yourself would have lived, would that also mean that we all have lived that? Like that every lifetime that ever has been lived and every lifetime that will be lived has been lived by all of us in some way? At least I feel like that explains the Akashic records being a record of all things that have ever happened and ever will. And maybe when we connect to loved ones in spirit and they give us a sense of some newfound knowledge or a newfound awareness, it comes from this place of all knowing, right? It comes from this place of, I know that you are living your own individual separate lifetime as droplet of water as you in this lifetime. However, I can see, because I am now a part of the ocean, I can see things for you. I can see things different. And that's, I feel like, how it is explained to me when loved ones in spirit come through, and there's a sense of growth and knowledge, right, from their spirit. It's as if they remember it. It's not that it never was within them in their lifetime as Grandpa Joe. It's just that they forgot it, so they remember. And I feel like as the soul evolves, and you think about like a spiral, okay, this is the evolution of the soul. It's not a hierarchy. It's not like we are a younger soul is any less than, or the older soul is better than a younger soul. It's just the path that we all must take. It's a spiral. And I feel like the spiral, as we live lives and we reincarnate, we just get closer and closer and closer to that remembrance, to that oneness. And the younger souls, I feel like, are really, really in the forgetting, right? They're in the illusion of separateness. They're in the matrix in a really big way, right? Whereas as we get an older soul, as we spin around the spiral and we get closer to the end of our incarnations and our evolution of a soul, we see that everything is connected. So therefore, we just remember where we've been, right? Where we come from. Okay, so so that's kind of the difference between the spirit and the soul. Okay, so when we talk about an older soul, what we're talking about is a soul that has um, been here experiencing life as a human through many, 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 many lifetimes. Um, and sometimes we have this knowingness about ourselves, about our kids, about other people that we just know, we can recognize within them, like that's an old soul, right? What does that mean though when you feel like you're an old soul? Does it mean that you're wise? Does it mean that you remember? Does it mean that you just know this interconnectivity? Does it mean that you're more spiritually minded? Does it mean that you're more altruistic? Maybe, maybe. And so Ainsley MacLeod, I would recommend this book if you're interested in this topic, is what I'll say. But he breaks down the levels of the souls. So he says that there are 10 levels of souls. Okay. And again, not a hierarchy. So therefore not a judgment. If you recognize yourself in younger soul kind of energy in the way that it is kind of laid out here, examples of no judgments, right? We all, even those of us that may resonate of being an older soul, would have lived and experienced life times as younger souls. So it's just the necessary, it's the requirement, right? It's the necessary process and evolution that we all go through. All right. So he's got 10 soul ages, right? And the young soul chain, he says, are levels 1 to 5. And then the old soul chain are levels 6 to 10. All right. And then according to him, once we get to level 10, we live a few lifetimes at level 10. And then we're like, okay, we're ready to move on now, right? We've done everything that we can in Earth school as a soul. And so, yeah, so he breaks down each of these soul ages. I'm not going to do that because that would take a lot of time to read that all out to you. However, he did kind of break it down with a couple keywords for each level of soul, and I will read that to you. But he does say it's time to figure out where you fit into the grand scheme of things. He asks us to, and once you read this, kind of enter into a meditative state and ask your intuition where you are. So, do that if you get this book. However, I'm going to just break down levels 1 to 10 for you. Level 1, keywords: isolation, apprehension, simplicity, naive. Okay. These are not at all judgments. So I know that sometimes we think about words and we think about like negative connotations versus positive connotations, but they're not meant to have that. Just think about us even as as we grow and evolve as humans. We start out in this lifetime as babies. We literally can't feed ourselves. We poop our pants, we can't walk, we can't do anything. Does that make us like dumb or less than? No, not at all. It's just the necessary process to then learn to walk, to learn to feed ourselves, learn to go to the washroom. So I urge you, as you kind of explore this for yourself, if you choose to, if you recognize a lot of yourself in a younger soul energy, to not feel like you're less than. Okay, because you're not at all. So level 1, isolation. So there's kind of a feeling of almost feeling overwhelmed a little bit with life, and oh my goodness, this is too much for me, because we're a new soul, just like babies. They get colicky, right? They get overwhelmed. Apprehension, I'm a little bit nervous, right? I'm learning what this is all about. Simplicity, there's a real need for simplicity with level 1 souls, and the naive kind of comes in just because it's all new. It's all new. Level 2, fundamentalism. No, fundamentalism. Yes. Nationalism, being conservative, discriminating. Again, let's not associate with this politics in this moment. But it is about really, really, really wanting to belong with like. So there, as a younger soul, so when we think about level 1 to 5, we can begin to see different kind of people in the world and where they would fit, right? And there's a sense of like not understanding something that is different than I when we're in the younger soul, because we're still figuring out like who I am, right? Something that my own guides have taught me over the years is that Younger souls are learning how to empathize and to walk in another's shoes, but they first have to learn who they are first. So there is that real separate piece, and not understanding things that's different than I, right? Kind of wanting to surround yourself with like, because it just validates that sense of self, because there's a sense of exploration of like who I am and understanding and learning who I am first. We have to do that before we can learn, about anybody else in terms of this. And so a sense of belonging, we see a lot of like politics and things come up with the younger souls, nationalism, all of that kind of stuff. So got that. Level 3, church community, conservatism, conformity. So again, just a sense of like rules and structures, the matrix, separateness, right? We all feel like we're still separate here. We need all these strong rules to learn how to be human, right? We see this in these younger soul ages. And you can see this as well, like in the evolution when we think about humanity and we think about history. And we can see like now here we are on the doorsteps to the age of Aquarius, and people are not needing these things as much, that provided that structure, that provided that sense of conformity and rules and law, because we have reached a stage in our consciousness where we can govern ourselves, right? And so a lot of people are abandoning is what I meant to say, those types of organizations, but they were purposeful for the collective evolution, right? So level 4, focus, religion, aspiration, morality, conservatism. Level 5 is kind of, we're in the middle here, right? Number 5 I read in this book is where the matrix is going to be the strongest, absolute strongest. And this is the people that create, right? These are the people that feel very confident, very material focused, doing, building, leaving a legacy, kind of thing. And they take risks, right? And they make things happen, which is good, because they've got that like younger soul energy of like, let's go, but they've evolved enough to be starting to think about impacts of others as well. So level 5 was ambition, materialism, power, mainstream views, but the matrix might be the strongest in this kind of in this level. And I also read that he said something along the lines of to a level 5 soul, the afterlife may be as off the wall or unbelievable as Neverland, right? It's like completely like, yeah, no, I can't even contemplate that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Then we move into old souls, level 6, focus on unity, social justice, self-questioning. Level 7, complexity, curiosity, creativity, intensity. Level 7 is I think I read him to say that level 7, or there's a lot of focus on like creativity and artistry, and the people that in the past would have been very innovative and created things for us. He gives examples like the Sistine Chapel and penicillin, in airplanes, the Wright brothers. Level 7 souls that would have been here to innovate and to create. Level 8, sophistication, liberalism, environmentalism, and activism. You're noticing as the soul evolves in age, starts to be a little bit more like really focused on the inner world, not just like doing, but being, right? So there's a switch at this level 5. When we move into level 6, there's a switch from human doing to human being. There's a switch into much more awareness and remembrance around, hey, we're all actually connected. When I hurt you, I actually hurt myself as well. There's much more of that. So we see humanitarianism, I can't talk right now. I apologize. Gonna take a drink of water. Humanitarianism. Humanitarianism. There we go. Altruism, environmentalism, all these things become a little bit more important because we realize how connected we are to each other, and to everything, to the earth, all of that. Level 9, spirituality, self-improvement, healing, and idealism. He says that level 9s are the most common soul types that he sees in his practice. There is definitely a focus on more of the spirituality than religion. There is a huge focus at a level 9 soul at self-improvement, trying to break cycles and patterns and repair maybe some past life karma, some past life debts. This is around the time in the soul's evolution where there's more of a focus on that. And there's such a focus on self-improvement at level 9 that sometimes we forget that we're actually here in the real world to do things, mundane things, right? Like pay the bills and do the dishes and things like that. And I generalize with that, but I joke because you may be able to tell based on how I've been speaking that I myself resonate as a level 9 soul, very, very much so. So we're aware of the connectedness of all things. We are there's a remembrance of like there is an afterlife. I'm more spiritually minded. I've lived many lives. I become more aware of the patterns, the behaviors, the things that have kept me kind of in this loop. I'm ready to do the work, but also not forgetting that you're also here to do stuff in the real world, right? With your family, with your career, etc. Level 10. These are the lifetimes in which you're about ready to wrap it all up. Altruism, connection, eccentricity, inertia. Interesting. I don't know what he says inertia for. Let me just see. I'm going to go back to level 10 for a minute because I'm interested in this. Expressing compassion and learning to be both physical and spiritual. Having compassion requires them to be very much part of the physical world in order that others can receive their love. As long as they can receive love in return, level soul 10s can be happy just about anywhere. Altruism is at its peak at level 10. With lifetimes of experience behind them, these souls see another person suffering and remember that they too were once in the same situation. And each lifetime takes them closer to returning to the universal consciousness, to that ocean. The illusion becomes increasingly easy to overcome. They have to some degree the awareness that all of humanity is connected and deserving of respect, and they can see the folly of war, the shallowness of unbridled materialism, and the dangers of unregulated power. Old souls like these are frightening to younger souls who are caught up in the illusion, and they risk diversion and even imprisonment for their actions sometimes. They often end up with huge FBI files that speak volumes about the way concepts like peace and freedom, fairness, and justice are really viewed by the younger soul establishment. So I find that really, really interesting, right? A lot of the people that we see in power right now, in government, the tech world, medical fields, medical research, the powers that be, so to speak, the man, quote unquote, are really still very much caught up in the matrix and are very invested where they are at a soul evolution, in continuing to keep the illusion of the matrix going. It's very, very important. However, you can see at a collective standpoint, viewpoint, that we are evolving collectively to be older souls, right? So there feels like there's more older souls here than ever before. At first, it feels like what I'm hearing from Spirit is there's always been older souls. Obviously, more and more and more are created, with each lifetime because there's more of us here, right? But that, they used to be kind of outliers, very easily identified as an older soul because they would be very different from everyone else. I mean, let's think about Jesus Christ. Let's think about his life, right? Surrounded by a lot of new souls. And what was he talking about? Christ consciousness and unity, right? That we're all interconnected, that we're all one. That was an old soul talking to some new souls at a time where the world was built on with new souls and a new soul consciousness. Weren't ready for him, right? But now there's more and more and more of us here. So there's more and more and more of us that are ready for that information, but also becoming more and more aware of its truth, right? So that's what we've got around that. And then he also breaks down soul types. So to end this episode, I'm going to list off the soul types for you, okay? And maybe you just, even when you just think about it, maybe your intuition as I list them off will go ding, and you'll kind of have a feeling. And you certainly can follow him on social media or look on his website or grab this book if you want to read more about the soul ages that I discussed or the soul types that I'm about to list off for you, because I think it's probably interesting. It was interesting to me for sure. So it says your soul type might change from one lifetime to the next, but you'll generally have a favorite, one that you tend to stick with. Most of us choose from the three that we are most comfortable with. Okay, so here we go. The 10 soul types according to Ainsley MacLeod. We've got the helper. I have to tell you, I connect to so many helpers. When I'm connecting to people, I'll be like, oh, helper soul. I hear it. And I certainly resonate, helper soul. But we got the helper. Next, we have the caregiver. Then we have the educator. Then we have the thinker, the creator, the performer, the hunter, the leader, the spiritualist, the transformer. So through your soul type will always be the most significant part of who you are. The influence will affect how you express your individuality. So some soul type influences are your soul type, right? So your behavior plus your traits. Your primary influence is behavior, and your secondary influence is your traits. So then it lists off, the helper. It lists off the caregiver and all of these things, and you kind of just feel into which one you feel the most like. And so I'll just share with you. This is what it says: discover your soul type. Here's a little bit further information I'll give you to help you out. So the soul type, helper. The focus for the helper is on service. And the main traits with that are dedication and stoicism. Caretaker soul type. Focus is on nurturing. Traits, empathy, and loyalty. The soul type educator focuses on teaching. The traits, I don't know how to say this word, erudication, maybe? Eloquence also comes in. The thinker soul type focus on knowledge, traits for strength and rationality. The creator soul type focus on creativity, traits are sensitivity and idealism. The performer soul type focus on communication, traits are passion and playfulness. The hunter focus on activity, traits on determination and practicality. The leader focus on authority, traits, charisma, and wisdom. The spiritualist, improvement, traits, compassion, spirituality. The transformer, unity, traits, inspiration, and love. So I felt, just from when I first did this and I did the little meditation, I wrote down that I felt like my primary soul type was the spiritualist, so the focus on improvement, compassion, and spirituality, and a level 9. So I felt my primary influence was the spiritualist with improvement, and my secondary influence was knowledge with the thinker. And then as you go, you can also figure out your mission of change, mission of exploration, mission of connection. It's really interesting, honestly. There's too much for me to talk about in this book, but I do hope that helps kind of explain old souls. The old souls are just, they've been around the block a few more times, and their focus is more focused on balance than younger souls. So it's kind of like there's an extremism, like there's a spectrum, right? So younger souls more focused on who am I? There's a feeling of separateness. There's potentially a feeling of overwhelm, especially the very, very new souls. And think about like the human lifespan, right? It's the same kind of thing when you think about the soul's evolution, like the human lifespan. Newborn baby to very wise old woman or man who would have all those life experiences, right? But yeah, there's a spectrum, and as older souls, we are not learning how to be compassionate and empathetic to other people. That's kind of second nature. However, we are learning how to extend that to ourselves as well. So working on some things like overgiving, boundaries, and such. So I hope that helped you a little bit today. I tried to keep it as short and sweet as possible, even though I know it's a huge topic. Definitely recommend that book, grabbing it at your library, or purchasing it if you want. Maybe there is an audio version as well. And recommend Ainsley MacLeod in general. I feel like he has a community that you can belong to. I don't know if he has a podcast or not, but I think he'd be a very interesting person to listen to. He is Scottish, and he has an excellent Scottish accent. So yeah, I think his wait list is like 10 plus years though for a past life reading. So, if you're really interested, if you're really invested, you could definitely put yourself on his wait list as well. But, you already know your past lives. You already know they are within you. So I will include in the show notes for this one a past life guided meditation. I'll find my favorite one on YouTube, and I'll link it for you. And just kind of see what comes up when we talk about past lives. But I hope you'll share with me. Please let me know what you feel your soul type is and where you feel you are in terms of soul age. All right. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you again. If you have enjoyed this episode, please consider hopping on over to wherever you listen to your podcast and giving it a 5-star review. Thank you so much in advance. If you'd like to keep in touch, please head over to my website, theintuitiverising.com, to keep up with all the things that I have been doing. I also have a private Facebook community for people just like you. It's called the Intuitive Rising Community. All you gotta do is request to join, and I will let you in. Keep rising.